We are the
Carwells.
Carwells.
I'm Emily.
And I'm Sarah. Welcome
to the Superhost Labs podcast.
Welcome back, guys, to our show, and thank you, listeners, who are joining us again. We have Kenesha and Alisha here, who are also Airbnb hosts, who are going to talk all things Airbnb with us today. Hello, ladies.
Hello. Thanks for having us.
Thanks. Yes, thanks so much for having us.
Well, thanks for joining us. For our listeners, to give you a little bit of backstory, I was having dinner in Tulum, Mexico, and was sitting next to Kenesha and a few other people, and the conversations and the libations were flowing. and so everyone that was like around us were Airbnb hosts in one form or fashion. And so one thing led to another, and here we are connecting again on a podcast. But since Mexico, we've done some deep stalking on their page and just starting to fall in love with their entire journey. So we're excited to have them here. But as always, we start each episode with an Airbnb horror story. So before we get into that, why don't you guys take a second, introduce yourselves, tell everyone kind of a bit about who you are, and then we can kind of kick it off with some horror stories that you guys have gone through in your Airbnb journey.
Okay.
Hey.
Well, my name is Kenesha. My partner here is Alisha. We are known as the Queens Who Flip. We actually met a year ago, right? It's been a year now?
Yes.
At a networking event. I clearly meet people networking. So it's been the way that I have collected such amazing people, such as yourself, Sarah. I am a realtor here in the Orlando area. I got into real estate about 4 years ago by accident. I was very into styling and wardrobe styling, so that was my passion at the time, but it was not paying the bills. So my friend introduced real estate to me, and I haven't looked back, and it's been an incredible journey so far. We love being Airbnb hosts. We love decorating, so it's my ability to flex my styling with the interior decorating. So it's been like really good to see the two merge together. And it's been exciting. So thanks for having us. And then I'll let Alisha kind of tell a little bit about herself.
Yes. Hi, I am Alicia, and I'm also a realtor. I've been a realtor for about 10 years in the Central Florida area. I have a corporate background, ironically, in the hospitality industry, but I was very burnt out. And I was looking for a way to gain passive income. Didn't fathom putting 25% down on a multifamily, having a mortgage, all of that. So I decided to leave corporate in the midst of a pandemic, went to a couple of networking events, met Kenesha, our goals, our visions, everything aligned, and we partnered on some projects. So we created the Queens Who Flip, and we pretty much, have short-term properties, Airbnbs, and some fix and flips. So it's been exciting.
That's amazing. I didn't realize also, Kenesha, that you had the background in styling, because in all honesty, that's kind of where Emily wanted to start originally as well. So it sounds like you guys have very similar stories.
My gosh, yes.
I definitely, I went to school for fashion. Went to Florida State University. And I went to their fashion program. Then I left from there and went to work for Home Shopping Network. And in their buying department, and then it kind of spun from there. But yeah, so I have a background in fashion. Yeah,
That's awesome. Yeah, my interior design gives me my creative itch, is what it does in this industry
yes.
for me. My dream down the road, after we kind of have this set up, is to start like a graphic t-shirt company. I would love to do something like that one day. I love stuff like that. So when you said fashion, I was like, oh my gosh, we're gonna get along.
I know, cut from the same cloth.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, that's amazing. We're super excited to kind of pick your brains. There has yet to be an episode where we don't learn something from someone else on here. So we're excited to kind of dive into it. But before we get too far into it, do you guys have any Airbnb horror stories, or what is your biggest Airbnb horror story that you guys have gone through so far?
I feel like Alisha has to tell this one.
I think that one of our properties that I pretty much manage, I feel like that one has all the crazies. Um,
It does.
so the one, this is called the lake house. This is our lake house. And one that comes to mind immediately is someone that stayed there for about a week, and she checked out and she immediately left a review. So that was exciting. She immediately left a 5-star review. So I'm like, okay, we're safe. And then 30 minutes later, she called freaking out saying that she left her sandal in the property. Well, the cleaner had already went there, and the cleaner's like, I don't see a slipper, I don't see a sandal, I don't see anything. And so I told her, I said, hey, our cleaners didn't find a sandal. And then she proceeds to start yelling, and she tells us that it's a $800, what brand was it, Kanisha? It was like an eight
I think
hundred
it's like
dollar
Gucci or something, Gucci
Gucci
sandal or
Gucci slipper. And I called the cleaner, and she's crying and she's hysterical, and she's like,
oh.
there's nothing here. So the cleaner left. I went up there because she was very adamant that this slipper was there. She's like, I have photos. I took a video of the property when I left, and I can clearly see that this slipper is in the video. So I went up there and I did a walkthrough. And as I was there, someone was banging on the windows and screaming and cussing, cussing us out. And so I reached out to her on the app to let her know that she can't come to the premises. And then that's when she proceeds to say that she's going to call the police. And it was just really, really bad. So waited for her to leave. I left, called Kanisha, let her, told her what was going on. And by the time I went back there, she had attempted to break through the window. So
Ah!
No.
Why?
And so at some point, we were like, "Is she lying about this slipper?" But then we were like,
Yeah.
"The way she's acting, I don't. We don't know." So I told her to reach out to Airbnb and try to do a claim. But you know, they were like, "That's
Oh,
not your responsibility, and that's on them." So it was out of our hands. So that was a crazy story. The most recent crazy story.
yeah. The damages I would have charged her on the house were cost more than what the flip-flop cost anyways. Like, why are you
Yeah,
trying to break a window?
Yes. And I'm like,
yeah,
if it was that important, how did you leave it? And you took video. Like, it was just, yeah, it was
yeah.
very
Did she ever send you the
Crazy.
video of like with like proof that the shoe was
No,
left?
no.
she did not. She did not.
If
Uh,
it was really there, she would have sent the video.
Right.
There's no way.
you just why? It's like one of those things that you're like, I just I had a guest one time that left their entire wardrobe in the drawers of our Airbnb. Like they opened up, there's like two dressers on either side of the bed, and we opened up both dressers, and like his and hers clothes were like fully stocked in both dressers, and I was like, did they just like leave with empty suitcases? Like
Yeah,
just
like, how
Right.
did that happen?
they zip them up and take off, and they were so devastated. But they were like, by the time they realized they were home, they were like 6 hours away, and I'm like, I'm not shipping like three
How does that
boxes.
happen?
Oh my God. I've had to like meet up with guests. I've had to ship them things like
Yeah, we do.
I mean, that's what we're talking about. When I always tell people, I'm like, look, you got to make that check-in, check-out process as like clean as possible, because people just get some weird kind of anxiety like getting to and leaving vacations.
Yeah.
and I'm like, don't you like double check, triple check? Don't you look under the beds? I'm just like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's the weirdest thing. It's the weirdest thing.
Travel
Yeah.
anxiety makes me look at things more, not less.
Right.
Like,
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Different strokes for different folks. We don't understand it, but it's part of it. I mean, you soon realize as a host that people do not travel with the same habits that you have if you're an avid traveler.
At all. At all.
Yeah, for
that's
sure.
crazy.
Well, as far as we kind of, start digging into questions here, why don't you kind of give people or our listeners a background of, how many properties you have, where you guys specialize in, things like that. Just kind of talk about your journey so far and catch us up with where you're at.
Yes. So our journey, well, I kind of started first, and then I met Alicia, and then we kind of took off from there. But my journey started with, and we do have a niche, manufactured homes. So we started there. For me, I didn't have a lot of income. The pandemic had just happened. I only had like $10,000 to my name at the time. And that was in my 401k. I mean, I had other funds, but that was specifically for living. And I had connected with this other girl, and she was kind of into the mobile home space as well. And she got an opportunity, and I was like, okay, well, let's try to see where this goes. From there, we partnered up. I think we both put in maybe $6,000 a piece to purchase this mobile home, and I did most of the decorating because I'm also kind of like control freak. So she had went out of town, and I was like, okay, this may be a good thing or a bad thing, but it ended up being good because I was able to like do all the decorating while she was gone. Came back, we listed on Airbnb, and it was instantly booked for like 3 months, and we were like, whoa, like I couldn't even fathom like literally putting $6,000 into something and instantly getting money from it. And so I knew from there that we had like struck gold, because I had always thought, like Alicia said, we got to put 20% down. We have to worry about taxes, maintenance, roof, like all of that stuff. But with a mobile home, there's not a lot of liability and risk when it comes to purchasing a mobile home. It's cash. You get a tag and a title. You don't have to worry about permits, anything like that. And a lot of the work that can be done around the home can be done by a handyman. You don't have to worry about getting, I mean, they are licensed, but as far as like contractor coming out and pulling permits, you don't have to worry about any of that. So then when I met Alicia and she had the same goal, we decided, okay, hey, let's partner up. And then from there, our portfolio kind of like grew very quickly in a matter of like months. We ended up getting two Airbnbs and then purchasing two other properties as well. And they ended up all being in the same park, just from us being in the park, talking to people, building relationships. And so from there, we did, I want to say, 4 flips in a matter of what, 6 months?
6 months.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
You got
We
moving.
were
You said, you know what? Let's go.
we were
Yeah.
busy, and we did a lot of, in the Airbnb specifically, we did a lot of the work ourselves. So we were painting. Alicia has like, she's heaven sent. I can't even like say that enough, like how she's come into my life and been such an amazing addition. Like she does woodwork, she does like she has all the tools. She's literally like Bob the Builder. So um and then we have the same eye when it comes to design. So it's like our text messaging thread is insane. Like we're always
Yeah.
like sending each other stuff. I mean, every time we would get on the phone when we first met, it was like an hour mastermind every time of like what we
Right.
wanted to do. And so it was exciting to finally meet somebody that we both mesh, we got the same ideas, and then the same like drive, I think is super important as well. Um, and I could be thinking something and she's already doing it. So it's been like this amazing cohesive working partnership. So I don't know if you want to add anything, Alicia, about our story.
Yeah, we reviewed like the rental arbitrage model. We considered financing a home, but the price point of the manufactured homes, like, so the low risk, the low entry point, it just felt like it was just more stable for us. And then we were seeing the returns. So we might meet people that have more properties than us, but our returns are obviously better. So we're like, we just need to copy and paste, just duplicate this model. I am an avid DIYer, so I love to build. I've done like everything in my house. I mean, so this is like a dream job. It's like not even work. So we pretty much like live at these properties and do everything from top to bottom, and we love a good theme. And so all of our properties
Yes.
are in the Central Florida area. It's a hot tourist destination, so it just makes sense. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's incredible. So
Awesome.
I have so many questions. I'm gonna go off on a tangent here. So with these manufactured homes, with being in a mobile home park, can you move them or are they not mobile? Like if you wanted to say there was like, something happened and all of a sudden it's oversaturated or the mobile home park that you're in was like, yep, nope, no more Airbnbs, we have to move them. Do you have the option of like putting them on a trailer or like trailering them up and moving them to a different location?
With park approval,
Yeah.
mobile homes are they're mobile, right? They're not affixed to the land. So we do have a lot rent that we're paying because we're pretty much renting out the lot. So we would have that option. But specifically the park that we're in, they have cottages for the purpose of short-term rental.
Nice. Wow.
That's nice.
Yeah, because that's always like I've never really dug into this like corner of it, right? We've done
Yeah.
arbitrage and we've done a ton of arbitrage, and then we've also done purchase properties. But the glamping and the mobile park thing, I've been like eyeing from afar, and it's one of those things that it's like every
Yeah.
time I think that I'm like maybe that would be a pain point, it's like no, you literally could just move it. Like if somebody threw a fit, just pick the thing up and move it to a different one.
Yeah.
And then even like the guests that stay there, like we don't get any like you would think because people think trailers or whatever, but like
Yes.
people don't. I mean, people are coming to book us. And we have a lot of competition here in Orlando. Like we
Yes.
definitely do. So the fact that people are choosing to come and staying at a manufactured home, like because it doesn't look like that, like even though it looks like that on the outside, but on the inside, the way we've done it, it's like people are like, I want to stay here. Like this is a unique
Right.
stay. So, and it's close to Disney as well, which is really nice. Like we're 4 miles from Disney. So it's
Right.
been like a really good spot as well, location wise for us. So
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that just goes to show design. We preach all the time. Design can make the biggest difference. And
Absolutely.
yes,
Absolutely. That is our
yes, I
biggest.
love that.
I was gonna say, which selfishly, like, thank God it pays out because I was gonna do the design thing anyway. So, like, the fact that you make more money with it, I'm like, oh, finally, somewhere I have an excuse to spend some money on more furniture and decor.
Right.
and decor,
Right.
right?
Right.
Because
Right.
it's like it's crazy because the units that we have were rented out just the way they were. But both of us were like, no. If we're gonna
Right.
put our names on this, we're gonna like turn it. Because I remember taking my family to see it, and they're like, oh, you can just rent it out just like this. And I had texted Alicia, and I was like, well, my mom said we should just like rent it out. So I was doubting myself, and then I texted her maybe like a couple hours. I was like, no, we're gonna go in. We're gonna flip this project. And literally, like she said, we were there probably like from 8, maybe even earlier, 8 in the mornings to 8 at night, just every day for like 6 weeks. And like she said, it didn't feel like work. Like we were in the zone, we had music, and it was just like for us therapeutic, and it was fun to go through the process. So
Oh my gosh, I love that so
It's
much.
so amazing. It's so amazing to, to see, and I know you've all seen this, to make the listing active
yeah.
and then to immediately get the response. It's like, oh, I feel validated. I feel like all of this work was for, and there's nothing better than getting those, inquiries or
Mhm.
those deposits.
Yeah.
So it's so exciting.
Oh my gosh, I couldn't agree more. Emily and I used to say that all the time.
Yeah.
Like we went through this, rapid fire phase of arbitrage properties in Dallas when COVID first started because although we were in a position that we really couldn't scale our own properties, we were like, how do we stay in the space? And so we started partnering with so many investors that were just capitalizing on the fact that every single landlord was like desperate for tenants. And
Mm.
so we were same thing, we're designing these properties, these little tiny one bed, one baths, and we would be in there all day long doing all the work ourselves as well. And we said the same thing. We're like, this is like so much work, but it's so therapeutic. And you turn on music and you
Yes.
blast it and you paint and you like put together furniture. And by the time you're done, and when you start to see those bookings come in, or you have the clients that you're designing for come back and they're like, this is our most profitable unit. Like, this is insane. I'm like,
Yes.
ah, yes. Thank God. I can't imagine if
Yes.
this
Such a
wasn't
good
an option
feeling.
for us.
Right. Exactly. We live in such an amazing time. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you guys flip these properties, are you flipping the properties that you're flipping and selling? Are you selling them to people who are living in them full time, or are you selling them to other Airbnb hosts?
So the park that we're in is kind of sectioned off, and that's why it works. So the part that we're in with the Airbnbs, you can do short-term rental there. Then they have like an RV section, and then they have a section where it's like people that actually live there. So we have done a flip and sold it, and that was to somebody that was actually going to live there in the park.
Nice. Very nice. Wow. I
The
love
cool
all
thing
of that. And
Yeah.
the mobile home parks in Florida, like everyone in Michigan's a snowbird, so everyone's grandparents and everyone's retired parents all go down to Florida all winter long. And so all of
Right.
us are familiar with the mobile home parks in Florida because all of our grandparents have owned one there at one point or another. And the mobile home parks in Florida are just a different ballgame. They're not like mobile home parks in the rest of the US, where the rest of the US you hear mobile home park and you're like, "Ee, wouldn't do it."
Hmm.
But you go to
Yeah.
Florida and those mobile home parks are like bougie.
Are like
You're like, wait a minute.
legit. They're definitely legit,
Right.
legit. Like I even was like when I first found out about like mobile homes, I'm like, mobile homes, like what? But starting to drive around, like you said, in some like we do have some parks that are obviously like I wouldn't go through. But for the most part, like we have some really good parks with good amenities and pools and like they're like just like a
Right.
normal like subdivision community. So
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Right. And then also getting into the space and talking to folks and showing them what we've done to the property. It's definitely, making people open to the conversation. Like, with housing being so expensive, maybe mobile homes are something that I typically wouldn't have looked at, but I need to because there's so much potential. Again, the entry point is it's minimal compared to what, it costs to have a regular home. So
mhm,
it's definitely starting these conversations.
yeah.
100%. Okay, before I go
Absolutely.
on another tangent, I'll let Emily ask the next question. If you can't
Yeah,
tell, I'm the
you'll get
talker.
used to that. Well, so you guys are obviously in a really, at least to us, a unique niche because we haven't experienced anybody who's been in your guys' niche before. And we're pretty transparent as when it comes to like profitability of properties and you guys manage them yourselves. So you don't have to give exact numbers, but if what would you say is like the range of profitability that you see being in a mobile home park and like how passive can you make it?
Sure.
She's the
Okay,
numbers
so
girl anyway, so
well, what I will say about this, as you all know, is this business model is scalable, right? Airbnb came into this market and it totally changed, the way we do things. It's scalable. So it could be as passive as you want it. We love doing our cleans because it's so hard to find good cleaners. So depending on what we've got on the calendar, we will go out there and do the cleans because we like our sheets ironed and everything a specific way. But we do have the option to just run our business from our fingertips. So it just depends on what you want to do. So whether it's a mobile home or rental arbitrage, it doesn't matter. It could be as passive as you'd like it to be. As far as profitability, so let's just go to the first property. I think it was like $12,000, and it was $5,000 for rehab, which brought it to 17,000, and that property brings in $2,800 a month. And then the second property was purchased at 27,000. We put five into it, bringing it to 32,000, and that one brings in $3,800 a month. And then the most recent property we got for 35,000. We put 4,000 into it, and that brings in between 48 to $5,000 a month. So,
That's amazing.
Wow.
Yes.
Oh my
Cash
gosh.
flow. Yes. Ooh, jaws and
Love
things.
that.
So
yes.
now I have more follow-up questions. I love it. So how much is it to rent the actual lot that you have to stay on? Because once you purchase the property, I mean, that's it, right? You've just got the
Yep.
monthly expenses of what the lot costs and then your utilities.
mm-hmm. Yep.
Well,
So
I think it's the electric is included. So we're all in monthly between 750 and $800 a month.
Oh
yeah.
my gosh, yes.
Wow.
And then you factor in cleanings and internet, but I mean all in probably like 11 maybe like $1,100 all in with all of that stuff. But like with cleaning and supplies and stuff. So
Oh, yes, supplies, that's
yeah.
true. And that goes up and down depending on because we
Mhm.
also provide like Fiji water and, snacks and stuff like that. Right. So
Yeah. But all of that, I mean, you make your money back on on
that's
that end.
Oh, absolutely. You're creating a
Mm-hmm.
luxury experience for these people
That's
Yes,
with that
incredible.
Right.
level of service. That's amazing. Oh my
And I
God.
think what's so beautiful about it is like, people spend so much time focused on arbitrage, and arbitrage has been absolutely beaten to death. I mean, landlords everywhere are like,
mm-hmm.
you'll call a landlord, especially if it's a large complex and it's not like a first time landlord, and you'll call and you'll be like, hey, I'm calling about a corporate lease, and they're like, Airbnb, no, like immediately. Everybody's
Wow. Yeah,
familiar.
everybody's jumped on that wagon.
And
Yeah.
so, which
Oh
I mean,
yeah.
it was a beautiful, like that's how we started, right? But we started in 2019 before it was beaten to death and before influencers like us screamed to the mountaintops that this was an option. But I mean, this is such a good
Oops.
secondary option, right? Like the fact that you can
Mm-hmm.
really get into something for, $30,000, and all of a sudden you're cash flowing several grand a month, and you don't have all the moving parts that you have when you actually own the property. It's such a good in between phase of kind of, the two options between arbitrage and ownership. And it's a unique stay. So like Airbnb is heading in that
Yes.
direction anyway. You're getting prioritized over
Yes.
arbitrage properties as well.
Yeah,
Right.
and it's much more
And we,
scalable than a single
right.
family home. Like, even if you're getting a low down payment single family home, usually there's like a decent amount of updates that need to happen if you're getting any sort of an affordable property and things like that. And so it's such a low investment up front to give you obviously good cash flow to then scale even quicker than with single family homes.
Mm-hmm.
I
Right.
love it.
Yeah.
And that's like
Yeah.
main reasons why we chose this option, right? Because even with arbitrage, we're like, if something goes wrong, do we have to consult the landlord? Do we have the homeowner and say, I'm like, we didn't want to deal with that. And then we also wanted to theme it and design it as we, as we choose. And we actually own these properties. They're on rented land, but we own them outright. So that's a good
Huge
feeling.
advantage too,
Oh
because
yeah.
like, I mean, I
Yeah.
spent 2 years like stabilizing my arbitrage properties, and last week we had a landlord that was like, look, we want that property back. Like I know, your lease is up, and we've been great tenants, like the relationship's been great. My assumption is that they probably want to do it themselves, but they totally have the power to do that,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Like, okay, sure, I've made great money off of it over the last few years, but like I have to collapse it, and there's nothing I can do about it. I
Yeah.
just have to like
You can do that.
take that punch to the face and just be like, okay, we're moving on. But for you guys, you own it, and if they were like, hey, stop Airbnb, you're like, okay, trailer it up, we're moving it somewhere else.
Right. Exactly.
Exactly.
Incredible.
Or I mean, you've already done all the work on it, and so you could, if you don't want to trailer it up, you could sell it, right, to
Yes.
somebody else.
For sure.
And with the new way that selling an Airbnb as a business is becoming a thing, so you could sell it for significantly more than what you purchased it for, anyways, based on the profitability that you guys have. So,
Mm-hmm.
wow,
Yes.
there doesn't sound
We
like any downsides right now.
we actually can speak to that.
Yeah.
Kanisha, I will let you speak to that very thing.
So, actually, it's funny that you say that. So, one of our properties, we decided. So I've been in the park 2 years. Alicia's been in the park almost 9 months now at this point. But we've been seeing a lot of things changing. Like we are realtors as well, so we all know that the market is hot, right? But we didn't realize that it would trickle down to the manufactured housing market as well. So while we were doing our rehabs and just talking to people in the park, we started seeing prices rising, and we're like, okay, it started up at 25,000. Okay, not too bad. It went up to about 35. Okay, not too bad. Went up to about 40, then jumped to about 60, and we're like, what is going on here? Like, and the thing is they're only like 400 to maybe 600 square feet. So they're small. They're not big. They're 2000. I want to say like maybe year 2000. So there's no like upgrades in them. They still have wallpaper on the walls. And I'm like, wait, people are buying these? So people started to get hip to the Airbnb model that was going on in the park. At one point, I think there was a guy that was selling five of them, and
Yes.
they looked horrible, but he wanted $70,000 a pop for them. And I'm like, what? Now, mind you, we first purchased our first one for 11,000. So to see in a matter of what, a year and a half, like prices jump in manufactured housing, we were like mind blown. So we decided, we were like, you know what, we've had our success, we have other ones in the park. I was like, let's just list this one. And the agent that listed it, so there's like mobile home park dealers that are licensed to sell mobile homes. So we had built a relationship with him over the years that we've been in the park. And I said, listen, I want to list this at $84,900. And he's like, no way. There's no way. He's lived in the park for 25 years, and he's seen the park evolve into what it is now. And he's like, there's no way you're going to get that. He's like, the highest price point I've seen was 67,000. And I was like, okay, well, let's just shoot our shot. Like, let's just see what happens.
Right.
And he was giving us a lot of pushback. And because he wanted to make sure that if it didn't sell, he wasn't on the hook, which I understand. We do the same thing as realtors. We want to make sure that our clients are very confident in what they're saying. So we ended up listing it. And I want to say a week later, we got a sight unseen offer from New Jersey at full price at $84,900 for a 400 square feet mobile home
Yeah.
that we paid a lot
Wow.
for. So
That
I
was
was
purchased
like,
for 11 grand.
yes.
Oh, that is crazy.
I'll take it.
From my 401k, that would have probably been, I mean, depleted with everything that's going on in the market right now. I would have not had that, to be completely honest, if I let it
Yeah.
sit there. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And why not test it out, right? I mean, it's making money, so if it doesn't sell, you're still making the money off of the
Right.
property. But
Correct.
why not test the market and see if you can sell it for something like that? And wow. Oh my gosh.
Yes, I love it. I love it. And I mean, it
Yeah.
just goes back to that same idea that like leaving it in something that is truly a passive investment, like a 401k or just throwing in the stock market,
Mhm.
you don't have the same control as you do when you're in some sort of an
Yeah.
investment and you're like intimately involved in it.